They want to look at the Hjustrom graph. And for you to answer correctly, you must separate the way you interpret it this way. You look at particles eroded on their own, then particles transported on their own, then particles deposited on its own. This will enable you to answer this question correctly. Usually they ask a question like describe and explain the trend shown on the Hjustrom graph. So to start, we want to look at particles eroded. If we are to look at this graph, here it's clay particles, silt, sand, gravel, up to rock borders. Our graph starts from here, circling on sand. So on sand, we can safely say that where the greatest erosion is experienced. So when interpreting this, we simply say sand particles experiences the highest rate of erosion because they are loosely packed. Sand experiences the highest rate of erosion because they are loosely packed. You get your 2 marks there. Then, if we are to look at clay particles, the rate of erosion on clay particles is very reduced. The amount of energy required to move clay particles is similar to the amount of energy which is required to move pebbles and cobbles. So we are saying the amount of energy required to detach clay particles from where they are stuck is very high. The reason being that clay particles have high coherence, they are closely packed, so they need very high rate of erosion to be moved. There is high coherence. Then, if we are to move on to gravel, pebbles, cobbles, for these particles to be eroded, they need very high velocity because they are very heavy. They need very high velocity for them to be because they are very heavy. Okay, then if we are to look at particles transported on our graph, this graph here is very broad, tapering as we go towards that direction, meaning to say that here we tend to have the highest rate of transportation. Clay has the highest rate of transportation. Why? Just because clay particles are the smallest of our load. So they have got the greatest rate of transportation. Then the second highest rate is experienced by silt because these particles are the second smallest as compared to our clay. But from this graph, it's clearly shown that as particle size increases, then the rate of transportation decreases. This is why here our graph is very narrow. It's very narrow just because as particle sizes increase, then the rate of transportation also decreases. Here, this one is a graph of particles deposited. On particles deposited, if we are to look at clay, there is nothing here. Hey, don't make noise. If we are to look on clay here, there is no particle that has been deposited. So we are saying deposition on clay doesn't happen. Why? Just because clay particles are the lightest. No wonder why clay particles are deposited in the river mouth. When the river enters the sea, that's where clay particles get deposited. Clay particles are not deposited. Why? just because they are the lightest. Even if velocity of the river gets reduced, even if velocity of the river is virtually nil, clay particles are kept buoyant. They are kept afloat just because they are the lightest. But as these particles increase in size, then the rate of transportation gets reduced. Then, so we are saying on particles deposited, as particles here increase in size, then their rate of deposition tends to be enhanced. No wonder why our graph increases from gravel, pebbles, cobbles up to rock boulders, as depicted by this part. Rate of deposition is enhanced or is increased as the particles get larger. But as the load gets smaller, particles eroded tend to be reduced. This is what is depicted by this graph. Then, a conclusive statement for all that we have just done can be summed up by the following statement. When discharge is high, rivers' ability to erode is enhanced. The rate of transportation is high, but the rate of deposition is reduced. Then, when discharge gets reduced, the rate at which the river erodes gets reduced. Then, the rate at which the river transports its load also gets reduced, but the rate of deposition is enhanced. That is a conclusive statement that each one of you must put when you are to attempt this question.